Young Adulthood. I grew up quickly after finding out that I was pregnant. My adulthood really started at the age of 16. I stopped smoking marijuana while I was pregnant with my daughter, and so I no longer fit in with my stoner friends, and we stopped hanging out. They were still partying, and I was preparing for motherhood. I was trying to graduate early by taking extra classes at school, but my parents decided it would be better for me to drop out and get my GED so I could stay home with my baby after the birth. My parents' house was chaotic and stressful. The feeling there was something not right there that I needed to avoid persisted, and so Kevin and I made it a priority to get our own place as soon as possible. He dropped out of school also so that he could work full-time for minimum wage at Pizza Hut. A month after our daughter was born, 2 months after I turned 17, we got our first apartment. Kevin was a month shy of 17. I loved being a mother, but it was hard. My daughter would cry each time I put her down, so I never wanted to put her down. She may think I didn't love her. I had to give my baby all of me so she would know how very loved she was. It was the following summer, after we had been in our own place for about 4 months, that Kevin pushed me down for the first time. It terrified me. I told people, my parents and our old friends. I expected them all to tell me to get out and that they would support me and do whatever they could to help, the way people did in the Lifetime movies I had seen about abuse. Instead, I was told he was under a lot of pressure. He was trying the best he could to support us. I should be happy he had stayed. Most teenage boys wouldn't want to raise a family. Surely he didn't mean it. And everything would be okay. Being in a relationship means learning to ride out the hard times. Put your family first. At the age of 19, my husband had begun drinking, and like his mother, he was an alcoholic. His problem with drinking didn't really become apparent to me until I was pregnant with our second child. As his drinking increased, the abuse also became more severe. He was very manipulative and had convinced me I could not live without him. I was not capable of taking care of myself, let alone my children. We were 20 when our son was born. I remember taking our little boy to his 3-month checkup and thinking that morning how long it had been since my husband had done anything to hurt me. The abuse seemed to be on a 3-month cycle, and it had been almost 6 since anything had happened. I was delighted by this realization. Even though I was strangely happy about this peace that should have been normal, realizing how long it had been put some fear into me. I thought about it all through the appointment, wondering if things could really be getting better. When I got home, he was sleeping, and I woke him to tell him how the appointment went. I can't remember what triggered his anger when I woke him. All I remember is holding our tiny infant son in my arms, trying to make sure he was safe, while my husband kept smacking my head so hard my ears rang and I saw stars. I moved into a shelter for a month after that and had hoped that would make him realize that he would lose me and the kids if he kept abusing me. I was so afraid that he would keep hurting me, but I really hoped he wouldn't. I returned home and nothing changed. Not everything was bad in our life. We had good times too. If we didn't, maybe I wouldn't have been so confused and I would have left. Kevin and I were active in our kids' schools. We went on field trips, attended assemblies, and watched recitals together. We often went on family outings and trips. I thought he was my best friend. He would listen to me and often made me feel supported, though I later found out that he lied to me and about me a lot. He would hold me all night long, and I thought that was proof that he loved me. There was a lot of quality time in between the abuse. The children and I were always on high alert, though. We never knew when a happy outing may turn bad, and it cast a shadow over everything that we did. We couldn't truly enjoy the things we did, knowing Kevin may lose his temper and lash out at us at any time. Our financial struggle took second place to our relationship issues, but it was not insignificant. There was never enough money. Money was just so hard to come by. If it wasn't one crisis, it was another. Kevin worked hard to provide for us, and I worked hard to juggle our bills and income and keep everything paid. My parents praised me for always figuring out a way to take care of things, whether it was putting off one bill to pay another or taking charity from local organizations. I was kind of proud of the way I managed to keep everything going, to be honest. It was exhausting, though. There was no end to the difficulties that needed to be dealt with. When my kids were 8 and 5, and both in school, I decided to take a part-time job to help with expenses. This was a bit of a turning point for me. Working gave me some confidence, and for the first time, I began to wonder if my husband was wrong, and that I could never take care of myself. It was just a seed of a thought that maybe I could manage on my own, but it was a good seed. I started, very slowly and clumsily, to try to set boundaries at this point. The effort caused the abuse to intensify. As a teenager, I had begun to lose my faith in a loving God. At this point in my life, I felt completely forsaken by God. Jesus was not my friend. He didn't care about me. Where was he while I was being beaten by the person I believed loved me more than anyone else in the world? God had abandoned me. I literally went down on my knees and begged for him to save me, give me whatever I was needed to save myself, or let me die. But by this time, I knew God wasn't listening and wouldn't answer my prayers. Over the next few years, I worked a few different part-time jobs, and with each job, my confidence grew. I still hoped and prayed that things would change with my husband. I thought he would eventually hit rock bottom, whatever that meant, and would decide to change. Love is forever, so you don't give up no matter what when you are really in love with someone. Besides, I had made that promise when his mom died that I would not abandon him. I still hoped things would change, but I had begun to believe that maybe if they didn't and I had to leave, just maybe, I might be okay. I had made a few friends at work, people who seemed to really like me for me. Since they seemed to like me, I began to believe that maybe it was possible someone else might even be able to love me someday after all.